Welcome to another episode of Just More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lacey.
Hey.
You can find us online at justmorefix.com or on Twitter at justmorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon, and you can give us a rating and review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to have a ThanksGaming. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix.
I'm Willie D. Nelson from All Things Good and Nerdy, a pop culture podcast, part of the Geek Network. Just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other tantalizingly geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Welcome to Just More Fix. Today we're going to have a ThanksGaming. So this will release the day after Thanksgiving. So if you are listening to this traveling to or from or whatever it is over the holiday weekend, whether it's Black Friday or going home after an awesome Thanksgiving meal, we're just going to geek out and talk about some of the things that have happened and games that we've played or came out in the last year that we really enjoyed and had a good time with.
You're getting very specific.
Okay. Well, I mean, it could be anything. I don't know. Sometimes I just ramble on. The people listening are aware of this.
Well, my number one pick has nothing to do with any of those things.
Okay, so what's your number one pick?
It's index cards. I don't know who invented them. I don't know what they were originally made for. Gaming is literally the only thing I use them for.
Index
Listen, you cannot underestimate.
Go big or go home, right? Index cards.
How much I appreciate
Going
office
hard in the paint on
supplies.
this index cards here. No, I don't dispute their
Table
effectiveness.
tents.
I have only used them for a couple things.
PC miniatures.
Drug cards. Screw that. And
I bought pre-printed drug cards.
no, yeah, well, we lowly paramedics don't get pre-printed. They're
Well,
like,
you only have to remember 5.
it was way more than 5. All right. Either way, anyway.
Epi, more different Epi.
Strong epi, weak epi. All right, so index cards then, which is a weird thing, but they work really well. And you know what? There are way more games that are making specific use of different types of materials that everyone has laying around. I think index cards is probably the most common one you see, but like microscope, and there's all, loads of them. That Malice does it where it's designed with the index cards in mind or whatever, which is just really cool thing to incorporate into it because they work so good for like table tents and like drawing attention. Do you know what I mean? Like they're big enough to get a good amount of information on them, but small enough to where when you have them all spread out, there's a whole a good microscope game. There's so much crap laid out, So
And they're like dirt cheap.
True that.
So cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blank on one side, lined on the other. They are the perfect tiny paper.
Index cards, right? So should I go with
Extra
dice?
durable.
Is that what I should go with?
It's an obvious choice. I mean, you go there if you want to. I feel like you should have to pick a certain kind of, I didn't just say paper.
So the first thing that on my list for however many of these that we do is actually several small things, I guess, and it was Zine Quest. And specifically just zines in general. I really, really like them. I think they're lots and lots of fun. When we were at Gen Con, I spent a lot of time at the Dungeon Crawl Classics booth looking at their zines and that kind of stuff. And I really just like the idea, even whether it's for gaming or non-gaming stuff, just the idea of zines is just fun and cool. And the idea of sort of small press self-published kind of stuff I think is really intriguing and kind of cool. And I can't remember where it was, but you said that there was a zine exchange that you saw. Was that you or was that?
Yeah, I was at Gen Con one year.
I was like, that's really cool.
Somebody was talking about it and they showed me the little tiny zine. It was like a fold out thing that they had going on. It was even smaller than the zines I'd seen. It was probably sorry, I have something in my teeth. Not like playing card size, but it was smaller than the quarter sheet of paper, whatever it was they had. But,
right.
And at the time I didn't even know what a zine was because I continue to astound people with I'm like, I don't know, up until 3 years ago, I didn't know who Gary Gygax was. I didn't care. I was just playing a game.
Right. No, that's all good. There's a lot of fun there, and I think that it's interesting when you all the possibilities that exist with them, because it could be anything, but the size of it limits you in what you can do, and it sort of makes you be really concise about your word choices and that kind of stuff. And especially with games like Mothership that have came out this year, it's really challenged the idea of what a zine can be, right? So you have something as like Mothership, which is a full, complete role-playing game in every sense of the word, but is so trimmed down and concise. And I understand the argument about how some people say that it's kind of intimidating because there's so much crammed on every page. And I understand that.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, it's intimidating to make anything that you've never made before. But like zines basically lower the barrier of entry to RPG creation to zero. I mean, you can do this at home with free programs, like almost no talent whatsoever.
Right.
You know, it helps if you know what you're doing, but you can make it just being your average guy and be like, hey, I made this thing. Check it out.
So I think that's my number one. It's been a lot of fun. And then our zine that we've been involved with producing and stuff has been a lot of fun. It's been very challenging. It's kind of opened my eyes to some of the interesting challenges that publishers have on a much smaller scale or whatever, but we're also a much smaller scale operation. So it's just been fun and a good time. And I think it's really cool. And I would like to do whatever we could to encourage to build that world out and to make that happen. So
maybe we could have a zine exchange. It could be digital. I just had a thought.
Well, I would like to see.
Can we do that for our Christmas episode? Yeah, people don't need time to plan these things. Don't look at me like that.
No, I was thinking the Gen Con one. I would like to try and track down the people that are make that happen. And if it doesn't exist anymore.
No, I mean like our podcast and our listeners. Like we should have a zine exchange. That would be wicked cool.
Well, yeah. We'll have to figure that out.
Somebody out there probably already has zines, right? That's a thing that nerds do.
I don't know. Right, so yeah, yours is index card. Mine is paper with stuff printed on it and folded in half. Huh.
A book. We call that a book.
Yeah. No, those are zines. And I guess what is an honorable mention real quick, going back to Zine Quest, which kind of really started this off in my mind, was there were so many great zines that came out through Zine Quest. And I think it was really cool that in that moment there was a big push and a lot of encouragement from a lot of different people to get other people out there producing something, no matter how big or small it was, but encouraging people that weren't normally in the publishing space, because there was a lot of first-time creators getting things published. And I think that was just a really cool thing and a way to do it. And I hope that Zine Quest comes back around next year. I just think I hope it's a thing that continues to live on and which is really awesome and a good time. And I'm super happy with everything that we've gotten from it. So nothing but good things.
So my next thing that I'm thankful for is RPG designer Kyle Chenier. I know. We've had him on the show. We've done interviews, but like, I just really enjoy everything that he makes. I've said this before, so this is not new to anybody.
Right.
And also for making me feel like I might actually consider playing Dungeons and Dragons again, like actual Dungeons and Dragons, because I was just dead nuts set that I was never going to play D&D brand again, and I've dabbled a little in 5th edition since he's ran some 5th edition stuff for us. And his, it's coming up on the holiday season, and his Nutcracker.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of fun.
I don't know. His Nutcracker scenario, how about that?
There you go.
For Dungeons and Dragons is fabulous.
It's a lot of fun.
It's way worth $5 for sure.
It definitely is. And I think it's there's all these people that I've seen online talk about holiday themed games and what do you do for things and all this kind of stuff, and how do you have fun with holiday games, and sort of like, I feel a lot of times those are more gimmicky. Do you know what I'm saying? But Kyle's Nutcracker adventure really does stand up on its own. It really is a full, complete adventure. It just happens to be centered around the Nutcracker ballet in a way, right? And there's no actual ballet happening in the adventure, but it's centered around the story of the Nutcracker. Right, yeah.
The soldier and the
Rat King and all that, yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and it's
the monsters they're fantastic.
Yeah. And it changes everything, but you're still So when we played it, it was a one shot and it was a lot of fun. But I do think that it would add a whole lot more depth to it if you played it with characters that had history together and were already established. Because when you transfer over into that world, everything sort of changes and goes a little haywire. So then you would have all these new problems because of what you've become, but at the same time have all the baggage that you brought along with you from when the thief and the fighter and the wizard had whatever squabble they had,
and
right?
it's random too, right? So it would be really interesting to see the fighter of your group turned into the porcelain doll,
right?
And how they deal with that.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. And to be honest, I'm not even sure that if we busted that out, that I would remember most of it anyway. We could probably...
Well, some of the monsters we didn't even encounter. There's like some choices that I made, and some of it we were a little pressed for time.
Yeah.
Because it took me longer than I thought it would, which is great. I mean, you could really split it up into 2 or even 3 sessions.
Yeah. Well, and then that could be even more fun because if you said maybe we game twice a month or whatever, that's what our game schedule is for the month of December. Hey, we're going to have this is the first session, and then the second session of the month is this one as well. If it runs out that long, but that way you have that potential that it could be a larger spanning thing, and then you can carry some of the stuff forward into the actual game after everybody.
I think it would be really fun just to play a Dungeons and Dragons campaign where your PCs were always toys.
Right.
So, I mean, there's that. There's the stuff of Legend.
That's where I was going to go.
There's so many things to pull off of now. It could just be a really good time.
I wasn't sure about doing it with D&D, but I thought about doing a Fate Accelerated game where you would play in that stuff of Legend world, because those 2 graphic novels are really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those, and it's sort of like has the right amount of darkness in something to where it could fit into multiple kinds of groups. So if you had like kids playing or whatever, you could sort of leave it where it's at in the comic book, right? But it hints at a little bit more darkness in the graphic novels and stuff. And then if you play with adults and you wanted to go with some more darker themes, that you could sort of turn that up and back down again if you wanted to. So I really, really like those Stuff of Legends ones. They're lots of fun. So, and then they have another one that's something of Ashes. It's a Fate Accelerated hack that I just got not too long ago. But got to dig into that one more. So along the Kyle Chenier thing, I'm really excited. I was hoping to run it last weekend when we gamed, but I want to run Hell House Beckons. That's Kyle's also holiday themed one. It's like a haunted house themed adventure and toolkit, and I think that's an easy Halloween game. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be a Halloween theme.
It could totally be like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Marley and Marley. Ooh,
the Ghosts of Christmas Past.
Yeah, true story. So I was really kind of disappointed that I didn't get to run that one. Instead, we played Aegon, and I had a good time playing Aegon. But I really wanted to run Hell House Beckons. I was excited to do it. It's got enough mechanics and things in there that are moving behind the scenes to where it could be different outcomes that I think it makes it more interesting for the game master running the game. I think it's got some cool design choices in there. So I'm a big fan of everything that Kyle has put out so far that we've played. I just had a great time, and he's a great game master and lots of fun. So I agree. Right on. So I think I'm going to kind of combine a couple of things here and go a little abstract. So, and this has been over the past couple of years, I suppose, but really, really hitting home for us in this last year is I am really excited and glad that there have been some older games that have had new life breathed into them in the past couple of years. So 5th edition has breathed new life back into D&D, which is good for the hobby for everyone. And I got to say, I'm not sure I'm going to go start a 5e campaign, but it's not bad to play, right? It's close enough to an OSR game to where I'm like, this is all right. And I agree with Kyle again said it's everybody's second favorite game. So it's sort of like, okay, sure, whatever, we'll play D&D or whatever, it's all good. So that's one of them. The other one is V5. I'm super excited to see there's another Kickstarter going to kick off about, I think, the Blood Cult or something like that for V5 and new life into Vampire again and stuff coming out in the Masquerade. Because while Requiem, I think it did some interesting things mechanically and stuff, it just wasn't my flavor of Vampire that I really enjoyed. So I'm just glad to see that there's V5 is moving forward in a powerful way again and really good and breathing new life and new mechanics into Vampire. And then Yellow King kind of fits into this, but it's, basically investigative Call of Cthulhu style gaming, but through a different lens with the Yellow King. And so, at least on for me personally, it's inspired me to look at that style of game differently because of it's sort of shifted the lens away from through looking at everything through a Cthulhu lens to looking at everything through just a Haster lens. And it's really challenged me and made me see some horror choices differently than I think I would have had I not encountered that game.
My next one is our friendly local gaming store.
Oh, right on.
Game in Terre Haute.
Right.
So they've been around for a little while now, and it's just been really cool to see the community there grow and kind of the store to pick up more. And they just, really respond to feedback from the gaming community. And, they have an indie RPG shelf now.
Right.
They really kicked off like the one-shot Saturdays with indie press games. And they have a consignment area now, which has been really nice for us to get rid of some older stuff so that we can spend more money at their store.
What's the thing is like the games take up so much
know?
room. It's nice to be able to have a place to get rid of them to someone that wants them. And I always enjoy buying, slightly used games that have all the pieces or whatever because, well, games are expensive, right? And then it's nice to be able to sell it to someone who's going to enjoy it instead of it just sort of sitting in the closet and getting passed over time and time and time again. So, yeah.
Well, and I've been to a lot of different gaming stores, and you go in and like, okay, well, this gaming store is like mainly board games, or you go into the gaming store, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can only play Warhammer 40K here. But ours does like a good job of balancing out. There's a lot of miniatures gaming, but there's also a lot of trading card games happening. There's a lot of role playing games happening. They have demo games every week. They have miniature painting nights. I mean, they do a lot of really cool things, and I think it's awesome.
Well, I think that they have done the thing that any healthy gaming store realizes is that people come to a gaming store for an experience and for the community of people.
Right, it's like part store, but part pub.
It's exactly it.
Like I come here because I like the feeling of this place. And if I don't like the feeling, I won't come back.
Right. Because let's be honest, it's just as easy to order things off of, Amazon or Troll and Toad or whatever it is. But I really work to try and make sure that if there's something that we want, that we try and get it from them because, one, I want to support local business and I want to support a local gaming store, even more than just local business. But also that store does a good job of supporting what the community wants, because sometimes it's easy to fall into this trap of, I'm not a 40K fan for the most part for minis, but hey, if there's a community here for it, we're going to support it. And whether, because there's 40K and X-Wing and all different kinds of stuff that's going on there. And it's largely just been, hey, if there's players for this game, we'll support it and we'll run tournaments and whatever. And I get that they also carry the 40K stuff and the X-Wing stuff. So they're making some money off of it too. But it's more than just that. It's because they don't have to support the games in sort of like a tournament kind of a way. And they've been super accommodating for us coming in there and running indie games. It's like, hey, let us take up like 2 or take up a couple tables every month or whatever and run these really small games that the vast majority of role players may never have heard of, much less want to buy. And now that there's a entire shelf now of small press games, which I just think is really cool that they embrace the community that way. Because there were people there to sort of push it and support it and be excited about it. And I think that they realize if people are excited about these things, then maybe we should be too, right? So,
well, and some of the folks that work there are excited about those things, and that kicks it off too. Like Roz, it doesn't matter what indie game we brought in. He was like, "Oh, I've heard of this. Oh, I have this at home.
Right.
Oh, I've played this. It's one version of that."
Right.
So to have somebody on your staff who's just always excited about those things helps out tremendously.
I agree. And then also, I think the more those sort of more story style games or whatever get brought in, the easier it is to sort of shift gears and run and play those games. Because the first time you sort of take that on coming from more of a traditional role-playing background, like a lot of people do, it's a big hump to overcome initially, especially if you don't have a circle of people that are already doing it. So then the more it happens, the easier it is to overcome, and then the more likely you are to bring it to your home table and whatever. So it's been really cool, and it's kind of exciting to see the impact that, however small it's been, to have that we've had on our local gaming culture or whatever by running games and playing games and whatever. So,
and meeting new gamers.
True story. So I have my next one is kind of It's very big and broad. So mine is sources of inspiration, but like very specific things this year.
Okay, I was going to say lame.
No. So like S that I got, which is this weird book that is like a library book was written by the guy that did Lost. I think J.J. Abrams is his name. And then it was co-written with another guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. So there's a story in this book that's called The Ship of Theseus. And then there's all these notes in the margin with two people communicating back and forth about the mystery of the guy that wrote it. And then, so there's like this mystery and romance that happens in the margins, but there's also the story inside the book and the mystery of it. And then there's all this stuff that's in there, like newspaper clippings and a napkin that's got stuff written on it and a decoder ring thing. And I will tell you, it has been an experience to read this thing because it's kind of challenging because it's all over the place because there's like 3 stories happening at the exact same time on every single page. And it's been fun to read that on an airplane with people next to you where there's like all this stuff written in the margins in different colors of ink and different handwriting. And they're like, what? Should I be sitting next to this person or not? So it's been kind of, that moment was entertaining, but it's really good. And it's really interesting because it reminded me of Dracula Dossier in a way, but it's just written for the story and for the mystery of it, not as a gaming tool. So it's made me sort of see mundane objects differently in terms of like what you could do with them for gaming purposes. Mm. And then also it made me think about whether or not you could just take any book and do this with it to sort of put that stuff in there if you wanted to, really take on a big project to do stuff like that. So then that's the first one. It's called S. And then Babylon Berlin has been super exciting. Got way deep into it again and then ran the Yellow King game. And then the Berlin book, it came out from Chaosium, has been super inspiring. All the gaming that we did at HillCon was super inspiring. Invisible Sun has been super exciting for me. I just got this really weird, Alchemy and Mysticism woodcuts book that's full of woodcuts from all different time periods or whatever that is all kinds of weird and trippy and has all that little strange iconography and symbolism in it and stuff to play with and do things with. So there's just been, not that I was uninspired, but it just seems like I was sort of like in the rut of what you always do, like your old habits you fall back on. Do you know what I'm saying? And then in the past year, there's just been a lot of stuff that I've seen and different things I've read and games I've played where I've been like, ooh, wow, I'm excited to be creative again. So if that makes sense. But that's all been because of good games we played that I felt like I ran that went well, and then games we played in, and then just different media and all kinds of stuff. So it's been a good year for me in terms of inspiration or whatever.
Awesome. All right. My next one is Magic, not The Gathering.
Okay, I was like, what?
No. So I am someone who has spent a lifelong gaming career avoiding playing the Wizard because it sucks.
It kind of does.
Yeah, it's like record keeping the game. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want 5 times more work to do than everybody at the table to achieve the same thing. Right. No. Okay. So why does this make the list then? Because I have seen a lot of really cool things happening with the use of magic in role-playing games. So starting with, like Vaginas Are Magic and Eldritch Cock. We've talked about those before. Like the spells are just different. They put the wonder back into magic, which is what makes it magical.
Yes.
Like doing things on a grandiose, mind-blowing scale.
I would also argue that it's not just wonder. It's also a sense of wonder.
It's terrible wonder.
But
it's
also
terrifying.
a sense of terror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, so we've been playing Invisible Sun that Alan's been running. Mm-hmm. And the Weaver is the type of character that magic user that I've been playing, the type of, what is it, Vizsla, they call it in that system. But it's a really open concept form of magic where you have like 2 groups of things. So I have like alleyways, which it's more like a cluster of type of magic that's underneath it. It's kind of difficult to explain without it in front of me, but it's very similar
conceptually to Ars Magica or Mage of the Awakening or Mage of the Ascension. It's just, I think that they are much more creative with some of their what they call aggregates. I think is what it's called, Weaver aggregates. Yeah. The alleyways one is wicked cool. I just thought it was
so it's like secrets, filth,
rumors and freedom. Is that right?
Poverty.
Yeah.
So all of those are topics underneath alleyways. And then you'll have another similar card that will have, you know, my other one is freedom, I think.
Maybe.
And it will have a similar set of principles. And each one will have things that it absolutely cannot apply to. So you will take two of a concept from each card and then try to combine it into a way that makes sense for a spell to happen.
Right.
So I used the two of them together to trace the origin of a rumor that I heard. So I like the idea. It makes more sense to me. Like, I have magic powers. Why should they be limited to this set of 6 things? I'm magical. I should be able to just be like, okay, well, I magic this because I'm magic. And as long as it's within my wheel, like my scope of practice, you know.
Well, I think I very much agree with you what you talk about with classic D&D style wizards and spellcasters.
Right, like I've been a wizard for 200 years. All I have is fireball.
Right.
Like,
no, I agree.
I didn't come up with my own spell.
Right. So and this is coming from a person who enjoys playing spellcasters, but the reason I enjoy them is because I feel like that is more interesting than just being the fighter with the one hit button. You know, I hit the button and I hit the creature. Yes or no, you know? So,
you know, great sword versus magic missile. What's the difference, really?
No, I agree. I get it. Functionally, you know,
you can only use yours 4 times. That's the difference.
So, but with games that draw their inspiration from things like Ars Magica and Mage the Awakening, or Ascension, I guess was first. But I think it changes the idea of what a spellcaster could be, because in some ways it makes it more work creatively for you to find ways to sort of incorporate your spheres or your aggregates in the case of Invisible Sun. But at the same time, it gives you more freedom to not say, these are the 6 spells I have. I have to find a way to make these effective in whatever situation we're in because these are the buttons I have and levers I have to pull, right?
Right.
So I think it does some interesting things if you can sort of think abstractly about how to use magic.
Well, it changes it to me from bookkeeping to a thought experiment. Like, now it's no longer about what's written on my page in black and white. It's about how can I be clever?
Yes.
To get what I want.
I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Invisible Sin has a lot of interesting potential to it. But like anything, it's a big game and there's a lot of moving parts to it. So we'll have to see how it goes. So,
but magic is cool.
Yeah, I agree. Right on. I'm surprised to see. I have noticed, I guess, that over the past several games we've played, you engaging more with spellcasters or spell casting type classes, or however you want to say that. So that's really cool. This is going to come across as really cheesy and everything, but I have been really thankful for and happy to be re-engaged with the podcast again. As like we've been at it we were talking about the pre-show and that kind of stuff for coming up on 3 years. And like when you do anything, you know, you kind of go through cycles of, you know, hey, I'm enjoying this more, and hey, I'm enjoying it a little less now, or whatever. And over the entire course of it all, it's been a good time. The editing process sometimes is a little bit of a wear on me, although now it's not as bad because for whatever reason, we've kind of backed away from Night Witches a little bit, which was really just a lot more editing than anything.
It's more just scheduling.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
So
I'm sad about that.
True story. But along with the podcast comes with everyone that listens to us and interacts with us at conventions or online or wherever it is we go. And it has been a lot of fun because we have gotten to talk to and meet a lot of people, game designers, just regular, you know, gamers, people that listen to us, all kinds of stuff, interacting by email or at conventions or whatever. And it has been a lot of fun. And it has been cool to sort of break gaming down in different ways and realize to think about gaming, like not only as the way we have fun and entertain ourselves and tell stories and relieve stress and whatever, but also like, how do we do that more efficiently? How do we do it better? How do we get more out of it, but not suck the fun out of it? Because that's the whole thing for me. The minute it becomes not fun anymore, well, then why am I even doing this? Right. I want to have fun at it. Granted, I want to be good at it. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, doing something well and still enjoying it. You know what I mean? You can still have fun and really work at it. And it's just been a lot of fun. doing all that, and then people asking about like, hey, here's this game I'm thinking about, or here's these questions I have about a game, or story thoughts, or whatever it is, whether that was, at a convention or by email or whatever. And it's been a lot of fun to sort of look at different hangups or issues or sort of like roadblocks that other people have through their creative process or gaming and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how to say this, like, because eventually we've been gaming a long time, like almost all the hangups, I've had something similar in, for me as well in a game that I was running or something, or creatively or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's been kind of fun to sort of pass whatever things that have helped me along. Do you know what I'm saying? And then also sort of like by doing that and listening to other people's game ideas has also inspired me to do other things as well. It's like, oh, that's a really wicked cool idea. How can I put that through my creative lens and bring that to my table as well? So the sort of give and take back and forth with everything that we've gotten to do through the podcast has just been a lot of fun. And always super happy to have feedback and just hear from everybody out there that listens to us and do more gaming and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What?
I don't know. I felt like I should say something for that. Like, yeah, it's been awesome.
So I don't know. I just felt like this happened after HillCon
as well. People ask us questions and like, have been excited about meeting us, which is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Monkey Fun Studios ran a game for us at Gen Con. That's like the highlight of my gamer life. That was the most amazing thing ever.
Right. It was a good time.
It was wicked fun. So yeah, it's been cool. And just like doing interviews. Mm-hmm. It's so awesome to have somebody run a game for you and, be able to record it and then put it out there for everybody and ask them questions about this thing that they've created and, what their thoughts are about just games.
Well, it's one of those things where you consume, like when a person makes these adventures and all these games. What?
I completely forgot. Somebody interviewed us for a college graduate project. I mean, that's pretty freaking amazing, pretty surreal. Right?
I was like, what?
Like, are you going to be able to use this for anything?
I'm just some regular old idiot. I don't know. Like, we play games a lot, but yeah, so that was pretty surreal. We got interviewed for a person's PhD. What do you call that?
It wasn't just us, but yeah, they were doing a like a capstone project. That's not what they call it. Hold on,
dissertation.
Yes, dissertation.
And it was about like emergent storytelling and how it all comes about and how it works at the table and how do you know. And it was really interesting talking about it because I came to realize I don't know how we do this. It just sort of happens. Like.
Oh, I find it really fascinating, too, that like gaming culture has gotten so big that people that don't game still have an interest in it.
Yeah.
Like I can have never played a role-playing game in my life, but I just enjoy the community and I like to listen to people play role. Like I never in a million years would have thought like, yeah, there's totally going to be a market for people listening to other people play role-playing games. Like,
yeah,
no.
I still a lot of times don't fully grasp that, but like whatever gets you by, you know what I mean? It's all good.
Absolutely. I mean, a good story is a good story.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, that was really, really awesome and weird to think about too, because some of the questions that we got asked was like, well, how does this stuff work? And I'm like, I don't know how to put in words how it works. It just sort of happens at the table. Like we all have this agreement that we're sitting down to have a good time. And if you're with a good group of people who are on the same page creatively as you and you all agree, we're trying to pursue the most interesting story. It just comes together that way. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, and there were some really insightful questions about things that like you just overlook because you're just doing them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then there's this thing where if you've been doing something for a long time, there's all this stuff that you do and you've absorbed as part of the culture, but you don't even realize you're actually doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It's kind of strange to think about. And sometimes I think the more you try and grab onto that to sort of define it, the harder it is to do. Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything else or?
Dust miniatures.
Yeah.
There, I said it. Not big on miniature gaming normally. Right. I find it quite tedious, but I don't know if it's just like the style of the miniatures or the fact that the game just flows a lot more smoothly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's almost like playing a board game that has strategy and miniatures.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I like about it the most is it's somewhere between like a more, I don't know, crunchy, rules intensive miniatures game. Mm-hmm. It's not that, but it's also not a board game. It's somewhere in between. And I feel like they really hit the sweet spot with it. And then plus that thematically, it's really good. The miniatures are really good. Mechs walking around is really good.
Yeah, it's just well done.
I agree.
It's beautiful. It's polished. It's strategic, not overly complicated.
Right. So do you want to start playing or?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, casually.
It's all good.
I don't need like my own miniatures or anything. I'm probably never going to paint them.
No, you're all good. I just didn't know, like, because you mentioned it before, and then I wasn't sure, and then you're kind of, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where you have so many games to play.
It's good enough that I will play it.
Right on. Right on. Well, and that's something I was going to kind of mention as well, because Greg and a couple of people have sort of decided to get more involved in it, because, you know, I have a problem, obviously.
But it's really good.
It's a solid game, yeah. Yeah. And doing it, Carrie might kill me if she hears me say this, but has made me want to bust out Dust Adventures again. And yeah.
So good. Such a good setting.
Well, that, and then the idea of being able to go forwards and backwards into larger combats, I've always found interesting, because it goes all the way back to Birthright, way back in 2nd edition, where you were sort of like running a province, and then you had like armies you could command and go do things that way, but then also step back and go like on solo adventures to do stuff and whatever. But it just never, it wasn't quite right. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the best we had, but it just wasn't all the way there. And this really is. It really works really well. Like all the stats are the same, basically. You know, you move forwards and backwards in it without any problems. And I think it's a really, really cool thing and way to do it. So I'm excited again for it. So right on. Well, I think we will wrap it up there. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I know we could probably sit here and go on and on all day.
I'm thankful for lots of things.
True story. True story. You know what? I do have one more thing. And I know you're going to be right there with me on this one. Malice came in the mail the other day, which is a game that we kickstarted from Monkey.
The full name of is actually
Malice.
I thought it was a town called Malice.
Oh, it might be a town called Malice, and it's something along those lines.
I mean, if you're going to be thankful for it, I just feel like you should say the actual title of the thing.
Well, it's big red letters on the front of the book called Malice, but it came in the mail, and it's from Monkey Fun Studios, and it's a sort of kind of like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo style role-playing game, right? So it's that sort of neo-noir Scandinavian style serial movie or TV show, right? Does that make sense?
I guess so. I don't know. I thought it was just like a dark investigation. I'm still not totally sold on what the word noir means, no matter how many times people say it.
It's all good. So
sort of picture black and white Dick Tracy. I don't know.
Well, in terms of media to consume as examples, it mentions Broadchurch.
Is it like an investigation where you don't necessarily win? I mean, is that what noir means?
Kind of. You know, I mean, it's a little more than that.
The characters are human rather than likable? Is that...
Yes, but there's also like... the way certain tropes work in the storyline or whatever. But in terms of examples for Malice, what they used as examples for inspiration, it's things like Broadchurch, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Dark, and there's several other sort of like mystery investigation ones.
I like all those things.
Yes. And all been really good. So that came in the mail. But it's not specifically just Malice. It's just that there are lots of different games that are coming out that thematically are all over the place. And I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. Now, some of them I think that they cross into some territory where it's like, is this still a game? Do you know what I mean? You know? Mm-hmm. But I think they're interesting nonetheless. I think without those kind of experimental style games, you can't get what we have now anyway. So I just like the fact that there are more things being produced that are sort of questioning what a role-playing game can be and what it can do. I think that's been really cool. And it's, it's been going on for a while, but I think it's really starting to getting more and more common now, if that makes sense. All right, right on. So we could go on and on all day, but I think we're going to wrap this one up here. So as you know, we're a member of the Gonna Geek Network, so you should go over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com and check out all the geek podcasts over there, like Better Podcasting. We just came from Boston. Better Podcasting, Better Podcasting, Game Life Balance, Geek.io, all kinds of awesome stuff over there. And check them out at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. If you like what we do here at Just One More Fix, you can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix and head over there to join all of our Patreon supporters in supporting the show and get access to all of our raw audio feeds, pre-shows, as well as our zine in PDF or print format, depending on which level you support at. And join the awesome ranks of our Patreon supporters like Tiziano Furlano, Timothy Barra, Simon McNair, Hector Treelane, Alan White, Alistair H., and the OG Todd Olson. I think that'll do it for us, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at Incompetech.com. You can support us at Patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at Just One More Fix.